Ngozi Talk Show's family, is Nomsa here at Ngozi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. With me today, I have Shireen Groove and Claudia Passa. How are you, ladies?
Brilliant, thank you.
Thank you very well as well. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So our topic today is how to move on after breakup, uncover the secret to unlock your heart. So in this video, we are going to discuss the keys to unlock your heart and move on after painful breakup. We know how hard it can be to let go of the past and be open up to new possibilities, but it's very essential for your own growth and happiness to be open to new possibilities. And Claudia, you chose this topic. Before I go any further, I would like to hear what motivated you to choose this topic. And the audience, I'm sure they would love to know.
Yeah, well, obviously, we all have been through these situations in life, and we all needed back then some help and some guidance, and somehow, yeah, it's just like one of these topics, we just need support because we always want to believe as well in the good, in the next good thing out there as in the relationship, even though this past one just wasn't compatible, it didn't work and so on, and we had to depart. It's just like some informations as well and some experiences as well between us to share with the audience how we dealt with this, and yeah, just like as well to give some insight.
Shireen, what's your opinion on this topic?
Yeah, I love the idea that Claudia has talked about. Everyone has had this experience. Everyone has in some way had something end. And I think one of the things is not just to see it as a romantic relationship, but actually all connections that we have. We may have had a relationship with a school, or we may have had a relationship with a business. We may have had relationships with other things. And, when we it's how we deal with the goodbyes in our lives, really. And how do we handle those goodbyes that they leave us with more hope and more happiness than with, going down into that depression and spiraling, right? Mm-hmm. And and I think there are many things that we have to appreciate about what happens when we lose that connection, because we're actually, whenever we form a relationship, we form a bond. We form a bond in some way, especially if it's a relationship that's meaningful to us. Mm. And we can come up with all sorts of negative things about ourselves and about others that then means that this bond becomes really contaminated when we separate it. And so it can be really unhelpful in the process of healing. So, I think it's so important to have this topic. It's so important to kind of really begin to understand how do we nurture a good goodbye? How do we create a space for that new life, or that new way of reconnecting to life or to other in a way that we don't keep contaminating it with our past stuff? So we can actually start afresh in every new relationship, almost like every new day. We go to bed and we say goodbye to the past. This is what we should be doing. Goodbye to yesterday. You've done me and you've served me, and we're coming into today, the new day. So we're actually saying goodbye to something all the time. Actually, we just may not really be aware of it. So, what's your thoughts there, Nomsa?
My thoughts is, when the relationship ends, it gives you the process to actually release any pent-up emotions and start afresh. But unfortunately, not everyone else sees it that way. And secondly, we dwell into the power of, we have to dive into the power of forgiveness. And not just towards our exes or towards that person we are leaving behind. is towards ourselves as well, because forgiveness allows us to let go of bitterness, let go of resentment, and let go of anger, and make a space for love. And first, that space for love, it has to be the love for ourselves. But some people don't see it that way. They are like, you came into my life, you made promises that our relationship is going to last forever. But now you are telling me that I am not enough. So that's when the bitterness can get a hold over somebody, that just like that. And when the bitterness gets a hold over the person, that's when they can either, if it's a woman, they will start getting resentments towards men. If it's a man will do the same if they don't handle the breakup properly. But what we have to understand here, we meet people for the right reason. There's a reason behind every person that we meet in our lives. Sometimes people are there for a season, but then when we select them by mistake. We think they are the partner of our forever infinity, but that's not the case. So that's why it's very, very, very important when you select somebody. I like your relationship, Shireen, with your spouse. You guys love to walk. He loves to, I see on Facebook, what I see is not something that just like putting pictures and showing off. Is real. I can feel the connection of that relationship, that you guys are connected. So when you meet somebody, you have to meet a best friend, and you have to meet somebody that you actually believe, whenever I'm faced with a situation, with this person be able to actually stay with me. But if there are red flags in the beginning, why dating that person? Sometimes some red flags are there from the beginning. So you have to be able to recognize them so that the relationship does not end in disaster. It's like for me and my spouse, if you see me putting pictures, it means I took about 10 pictures. One, he goes, Nomsa, do I have to take a picture? Then I have to convince them how important it is to take memories, to take these pictures. And he goes, go on then. Now he loves taking pictures because he knows it's for the memories. Or sometimes I'll be sitting and they'll be like, let's take a picture. And they take a picture. But I don't do it for Facebook. There's one thing I don't do it, and I don't do it to show off. I just do it because this is the life process that I go through in my relationship. Is sharing to date somebody, bringing somebody into your life, sharing things with a spouse? No, it's not easy. Sometimes we argue where we're going to go for meal, where we're going to go for ice cream. But because one of us has to have some beliefs. My Christianity holds my marriage. I know what I need to do when my marriage is not working. I don't need to talk to him when my marriage is not working fast. I need to talk to God. Then my energy, how I'm feeling, it will turn the situation around. And then the relationship work. But if I'm in this place, in moment, if my relationship breaks up, but because of my personal development and the journey that I've gone through, I will be okay. The reason why I'm saying I will be okay, because I know that when I'm taking the journey of life, of course, I had the privilege to have a spouse in my life. But I know that my life is between me and God. And if he leaves, or if I decide I didn't want to be with him for some reason, I got to be okay, because I got to love myself. So that's where people don't understand what is self-love means. Self-love means be okay when your heart is broken, when your heart is being rejected, be okay. So that's all I'm trying, the message that I'm sending to the audience, that make sure that you do self-care, because when a relationship ends, it hurts. Before my first marriage, I didn't know what to do. I went to the GP, I walked in, and the GP was like, I made an appointment and I was like, I need to see my GP agent. And I walked in and he was like, Nomsa, are you okay? I was like, no, I'm not okay. And he was like, what happened? I was like, I feel like somebody hit me in the head and I can't think. And he was like, was there any life event that happened lately? I was like, my marriage is just fell apart. And I was like, sit down. So going through that process, but when I came out from my GP, we had a chat. I came out with a mindset of, I'm not going to blame my ex. I'm not going to blame myself, because he was able to listen to the problem and he was able to give me advice, what I needed to do moving forward to get a therapist. And I got a therapist ASAP. And what he did as well, he said, I know you can manage to pay, but on my side, I'm going to put a therapist on call for you very urgent from next week, because I can see you're broken. And I was able to realize that, but how many people who are in denial, who wouldn't want to speak to somebody? Over to you, Claudia.
Yes, Cherie mentioned that we have to let the friction and the negativity and everything go at that past relationship. And that's really true as well, because if we don't do this, it's like we are carrying a ball of chain with us. And this heavy ball of chain we are going to carry into every other relationship. So this is why it's very important as well to do some reflection around it. What has gone actually wrong here? Which is your part or my part, and what as well have been the part of has been the part of the other person. Is just like to take self-responsibility as well, because we can't blame everything onto the other. It is it is usually as well part, so it's just like to understand this as well, and then just like take self-responsibility. What has gone wrong here, and what didn't I do right and wrong, so that I can change it in the future with the next one. And good is as well to understand that people come and people go as well into our lives. I mean, they come and they go as well, because we meet people because we have some certain contracts or some agreements as well with them, or something to learn as well here. And sometimes it's just done, so the learning is complete. And then unfortunately as well, we can try to hold on to the relationship as much as we want, but then God or the universe is just, if it's time to start or something else is waiting for one of these two parties, the universe or God separate as well those two people. It's just like good as well to understand that how it's important to let go as well, because in the end as well, one door closes and something else opened in any area as well in our lives. And the thing is as well, which to do some reflection in regards to that relationship and that person. What were my beliefs back then, or are as well at this stage, about love, about relationship, marriage, about that person as well, about me in the relationships, because we attract people according to our beliefs, and they can be positive and negative. So we have to identify as well what are the limiting or the negative beliefs we have inside of us, because on some part as well, we attract people outside who have part of these beliefs as well. So it's just like really good to do some work around it, some reflection. This has helped me in the past, just like to identify, and then actually as well to get clarity in regards to what it is I want in the next relationship. To have the clarity again, very, very, very important. Not saying this is not what I want in the next one, actually turn it around and say, this is what I want in the next relationship. Very important, because if you say, I don't want, I want, you get either or. So just like be very wise here. And as well the deal breakers, yeah. Like it's been already said that we have the flags and we see them, but we ignore them as well. Just be honest as well to yourself and see what were the flags. And yes, I did ignore them, just like put them on the deal breakers list as well, so that you ideally don't get them as well in the next relationships or relationship.
Yeah. It's, I mean, one of the things I had written down and you then went and talked about it was broken agreements, which was there. And I will touch on that a little bit. So I'm glad you brought that up, and really talking a little bit about what we don't want to what we do want is really important when we go on that. But what I kind of want to just come back to something which Namsa said earlier on when we talked about the red flags. You know, I think when we fall in love, when we start new relationships, when we do anything, we often go in with enthusiasm. We often, if we're with someone, we fall in love. So it's almost like both of you are falling in love, and you're both falling in love with the potentials of who you are, your essence, your soul essence. Because when you're in love, you give, you're open, you just are in that wonderful place. And then, but we forget, this is now this heightened state where we're in this euphoria and we're in this place of our real potential. But reality sinks in because we have our patterns, right? And after a while, those patterns stop, because you can't stay in that heightened state. The patterns the euphoria drops and these patterns come up. And that's when we get our red flags, right? That's when we start to see all this, all that, all this, but we've still got enough high that we can sort of say, oh, but. And that's when we ignore the red flags. And then time passes and we're in a relationship. We've made connections. We're doing what it is we're doing. And then comes a time when both your trajectories are different, where he's different and you're different, or she's different, doesn't matter. It's a partner, it's a relationship. And all of a sudden you because you've grown in a particular way, either you've had to deal with struggles and you've developed more responsibility or some of those things, or you've stayed the same and they've grown. Either way, what it is that it's outgrown its time for the learning that's available for it. So either you're not learning or you are learning, and each of you have to go that new distance. And I think what's really important is at this space is to kind of understand that nothing truly ever stays the same. There's always we're not here as a permanent being in the world. And we're always going to have lots and lots of experiences. And it can be really hard when we're younger and someone walks out of our life. And it may be even more difficult or easier when it's later, when we have an ability to be able to go, okay, I can see and reflect on that. But for someone that's younger, it could be devastating. And I think it's really important to truly understand that you're going to grieve, right? You're going to feel the grief, and to really spend a little time, as Claudia said, have a look at what you contributed, what they contributed, what's your part in the deal, so that you can really start to get a sense of who you are and who and what you did and this is just an account. This is not a blame. There's no blame. It's just taking an account so that you can look at it and you can go, yeah, right. This is what I want. This is what I'm going to choose next time. This is what happened. So you can look back and go, oh, yeah, I was very young and kind of foolish then. Or you could turn around and go, okay, I've made good decisions now. you can do something completely different now. And I think that's part of that healing process that we have to start to take a look at. And I think really taking account is a form of self-love. Because when we take account, we're not looking at it from a critical point of view. We're looking with that forward motion of going, okay, what can I do next that I can take responsibility for, that I can create? Because I'm a creator. I'm a being that can change this and make new relationships and a new way of being. And I think it is really useful to truly feel the hurt and understand that that hurt is obviously because of some broken agreement that's happened, something that you had an expectation of what love was about, or what friendship was about, or what, commitments were about, and recognize that they probably could have had a bit of work done beforehand and they didn't have it, right? I always remember something that a long time ago, I read the Tibetan book of living and dying. I don't know if any of you have read it.
Yeah.
But in this book, they said you've got to make a contract for every relationship that you have, because a contract gives you consciousness. And when you make a contract in the sense of how are you going to have a good death, for example, in this case, it was the living and dying, then you can carry on damn living, right? Because you've made your contract. And the contract may be that you will live healthily. You will find a way to make sure you live within your means that are going to be for your health sort of goals and things like that. So once you've made that contract, once you're honoring that contract, then the structure's there for you to be in flow. You can just live and be in flow, and the contract's made. It's the structure. Any relationship that we have requires a contract, a real contract, not contracts that are hidden because we have patterns from, all that stuff underneath, that we have expectations of people and ourselves that are not true because they come from our past. So this is where when we take an account, we look at the contracts, and we look at the contracts that were broken and why they were broken. And then how do we create new contracts for ourselves as a being? Like Namsa, you use your contract with God. That's a contract. There's a non-negotiable there. And that gives you flow, right? It gives you a way that you can then operate in the world that's different. And I think that this is really important for us when we are in the grieving process, or when we're starting to heal from a breakup or a separation or a loss of connection.
What you're saying, Shireen, and about the contract, because when you talk about the contract, people don't understand. I always say, make an example of Jesus. He has 10 commandments. So what Shireen is saying, you need to have some sort of things in place when it comes to relationship. Before you enter that relationship, Claudia said, think about your beliefs. What were your beliefs then? And also take responsibility when the relationship ends. Take responsibilities to heal properly. And come back to what Shireen and both what Claudia, they're saying is you have to use you have to have some strong beliefs and values when you enter somebody's world. And then you have to compare that world, his world and your world. Does my world align with this person? If it doesn't align from the beginning, do not enter that relationship hoping that you are going to turn somebody's life around. They're going to become the image that you are looking for. It doesn't work in the real world. I don't know if anybody can tell me otherwise. You can never ever change somebody's values and beliefs and image to become your own image. What you need to do, what Shireen is saying is, here's the king. He's looking for the queen. The king who has walked miles and miles in his own world, looking for his queen. When you meet your queen, let your queen get to know your world, not the fake one. not the fake one where you go get dressed, fake clothes that you cannot afford, or if you are somebody who can afford, using money, using your title. Just be you. Forget about your title. Forget about how much money you're worth. If you're a wealthy man or a wealthy woman, go to that relationship as you, because money is not going to count when it comes to broken relationship. Go as you. When you go as you, present yourself as you. When you present the real you, the two worlds now have to connect. Tell your king or your queen your story. This is who I am, the real one, not the fake one. And then the king is up to the king or the queen to connect to that story and sympathize, relate to it. Once the king or the queen relate to the story, then they sympathize with each other. The worlds and sympathize with each other. The connection then is connected for real. I did that with my spouse the very first time when my relationship broke up. I was like, I'm never ever going to put any personality in my life. I'm going to walk this path as Nomsa, Witness's daughter, Clara's daughter, unapologetic. I'm going to let the man meet the real me that doesn't care about anything, just love, unconditional, that has patience, that does not judge, that is eager to get to know somebody's world. But I know exactly what I want. This is the person, my dreams, this movie about my dreams. Now I said, God, I had to say out loud, you know, my life has been messed up big time. I meet these good looking guys. If I don't meet these good looking guys, I meet these wealthy men, but my life end up with the same story. Same story where, you know what, this is not working. We need to split up. Let it go. What does no longer exist? The memories are visited. It hurts. And I was like, God, I don't want to feel it that way anymore. He gave me a task. Nomsa, you always ask for what you want, and I give it to you. So myself, I had to look at myself. I spent so many time in the bath, makeup, making sure that I was looking after my wardrobe, and make sure that when I stepped outside, I didn't step in the mud. When I met a man, if a man admires me, they look at my body, they say, Nomsa, I just fall in love. And I was like, no more all that. I need a contract. I need to know who is entering my life. I got tired. When I met the guy now, I was in the present moment. I met the guy. I didn't care whether you're good looking, whether you have money. I didn't care. Nomsa, she's playful. I'll bring out my playfulness. I'll bring out the real me. I'll ask you questions. What do you bring to the table? In a playful way. What do you do for work? You see, I'm from Africa. This is my culture. I understand the English culture. If that person is English, in my culture, you have to meet my family. And when you meet my family, they charge you lobola. It's a tradition. So how do you feel about that? It has to be, everything had to be on the table. Though I don't believe in lobola now myself. I don't believe in it anymore because my pastor made me divorce that tradition. I said to my mom, you can ask me anything you want in the world, but don't charge my man lobola. Because my pastor said that number that is being given to a man, where does that number coming from? And I was like, I don't want no ancestral generational curse in my life. And my mom agrees with me. She was like, Nomsa, I agree with you. So I was like, okay, as long as we are on the same page. So it's all those things that you need to sit down as a person. What Sharon is saying, tell Look at the world. As a man, what does this man, a man has to have a vision for his, okay, we are independent women, very intelligent, who are very educated, but a man still need to bring a vision on the table. Why do they have a vision? How are they going to look after me as a woman? Even though I'm independent, I earn money, you still need to give that man an opportunity. If a man hasn't got a vision, women, they need to get out. Don't even give them the opportunity to sit on the table, have dinner with them if they don't have a vision about the future, about the woman that they want to date. A man has to have some sort of something, because a man is an architect. A woman is a mentor. She mentors. That's why people have visions. What Shireen is saying, when Shireen is saying contract, it means when a man has a vision, the woman's vision has to align with the man. So a woman can mentor this man to set up the foundation in a relationship. A relationship that is being entered by control freaks and blah, 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 it doesn't work. I listened to Shireen's story. She was like, I had to let my man be. That is a woman that lets her husband be. I'm saying no more. Claudia.
Yeah. I'm just getting as well some insights, some information in regards to, by the way, this topic is not just for our female audience, it is as well
our male audience.
Absolutely as well, because I work with male and with female clients, and as well the male ones come as well to me and they are heartbroken as well. So it applies to both, to both genders, absolutely. Yeah. So something as well I like to add, to mention that we attract as well subconsciously our partners where we still need some healing inside in regards to family pattern, father, mother. This is as well very important to understand and to look as well back at our, basically as well at the childhood, how did we grow up? What did we pick up from our parents? How were they with us? So all of this already at a very young age affects us. And then we have this inside of us, we carry it and we get older. And because of this unresolved issues, where we still need some healing around, we go out in the world and we attract subconsciously the partner to heal us. So very important as well to understand. And as well the projections, because we project as well onto each other all the time. So we project our own stuff onto them and so the partner. So this is as well a good, important theme as well to understand about oneself. When am I projecting onto them? What about it is my stuff and has nothing to do with the partner. So very important as well. And to me as well, I started as well to be grateful for the lessons I have learned with that specific partner in that relationship, because there are always lessons involved. And when we depart, we, the relationship is over and we decide we want to remove everything, all the memories and so on about that person, including the lessons. That's not really recommended, because this means then we have to go out there and learn the lessons again. So just please keep the good things, keep the lessons as well inside of you. Just accept them, be grateful for them, so that you can move on and don't have to repeat them with someone else, different hair color, but the same issues as well. So just important too. Yeah. And grief, yes, please, very important. In the past, I remember in the 20s and so on, I tried to push it all away and to bury the feelings, it's just, but today I understand as well that grief is important. It's part of separating process as well from that person, no matter what type of grief, but it's important because we have to go through it, live it as well, so that we can integrate everything what has happened, including as well the emotions, so that we are able as well to be complete again, to be whole again, because in the end we always are looking for to go back to our wholeness. And so this includes as well to accept the emotions, including as well the grief. And self-worth too, I just wrote down too, as well, like look at your self-worth. How are you with it? How does it relate as well in regards to you? How do you feel about self-worth? Did you do some work around self-worth, like you as being the woman or the man as well, and you in a relationship, just like very important to your self-worth, because according to this as well, you go out again, reflect and attract the person as well who is mirroring this to you. Something to add here, Shireen?
Yeah, I loved the reflections, the idea, and I truly do believe we're always looking at our other half, which is the half that we are lacking in ourselves in some way. And so we think we find it in someone else, but in actual fact, we've got to find it in ourselves. And often it's the looking and the seeking for that and not actually finding it in ourselves means that we will do those projections. We will create expectations for other people that's where those agreements are. We're expecting them to fulfill the agreements that are going to fulfill those needs of the partnership, the inner partnership that we have for ourselves. Now, we both have, and from a neurological perspective, we have sort of the left side of our brain, which is very much I would call higher order thinking, in the sense of how do we think about things? How do we plan? How do we decide? How do we organize? All of these kinds of things, switch tasks, be able to shift from one thing to another. And we have the sort of another part of our brain that's not the whole part, because they do mix together, so they do work, but as they work kind of individually, but they also work together a lot, is the right side, which is very much that part of ourselves that's in our feelings, the realms of our feelings and symbols and pictures and all sorts of things that are almost, when you look at someone's face, you're looking more with your right side than with your left side, unless you probably might be, you may be autistic, where you will look more with your left side than your right. And it's just really because it's a different way of processing. Most of the time we use both together, but we can almost say this is our female side and our masculine side, because that's kind of how we think about it in easy terms. But it is a little bit about that, so if we're kind of very emotional and we're all of that, then we're seeking someone who's going to hold us and make us steady, right? So our gift to ourselves is to learn to make ourselves steady, to make ourselves find the way where we can learn to plan and structure so that our life flows better, so that this beautiful part of our emotion has a container to work itself. And if you're a man, or if you're a woman that's kind of really a high achiever, which is kind of in a way taking on a lot of the testosterone kind of behaviors, really what you are seeking or need to learn is how to be gentle, how to look and be more global, look at the bigger picture. Because often those are the people that will kind of look at everything in sequencing and detail. So we're always seeking that which we're not so good at, right? And we're looking at it, we're looking in the wrong place. We're looking outside ourselves instead of for ourselves and what we need to learn and grow, so that when we come to the next relationship, we are whole. We are whole, so that we come not seeking, but we're coming because we are meeting on equal ground, right? And we can now create from a different place, because now those missions that each of us are carrying, that we're going to have an agreement about how each of us are going to reach our missions. And so we become a mentor for each other in different ways that each of us can do that. But I am reminded Nomsa, I'd completely forgotten about Lobola. Lobola is a dowry, and you don't really see it, but in very many traditional parts of South Africa, you have a Lobola. And it's the men that pay, not the women. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's the men that pay.
Yeah. Whereas in, say, India or in some of the other places, it's often the women that have to pay to be taken care of. Whereas in Africa, it's the other way around. Hey, they got it right.
My pastor is Nigerian. He said once he talks about generation anyway, how generational things can affect our present life, and he talks about how our elders sometimes they make up things. And which those things they end up affecting our real life. And also he talks about the names. He always say when you are being given a name, you need to check the meaning of your name, because that name is either can carry you or it can cause a stagnation. It was like some parents, they just give a name because they've had, or some parents, they give a name because of who they worship, or they worship water spirit, and they give a name based on that. So you find yourself, marriage is not working, and all these things. And when he talks about that, Martin's dad actually is English. Because I like to ask questions, and when I started asking him questions about his early childhood and stuff, that's when I realized actually in the UK, people actually in the old generation, they belong to somebody, they worship like our African culture, but they don't really talk about it. And he started telling me stories, and the queen and this, I was like, wow, this is messed up. So, but if you don't know that, your life will be going wrong, and you don't know. And sometimes some marriages, they don't work because of the pain that our ancestors went through. When I'm saying the pain, you have to look at your marriage, like your parents, were they married? Or their parents before that, were they married? Like when I look at Nick, we broke up, but his generation, his mom was married for more than 50 years. And his grandparents before that, they were married as well. So it meant that the problem actually is us, our generation, that created that problem, because we don't put ourselves first. And then when I started talking to Nikki's mom, that's when I realized where we've gone wrong. And I was like, woman, you're telling me now about the marriage? Why didn't you tell me before? Honestly, she was telling me when we were splitting up how she hold on to her marriage. She was like, Nomsa, we had to put us first in the relationship. There were times where sometimes when a man does the things that you don't like, sometimes you feel ashamed talking about it, but you have to talk about it, talk about things. That's what relationship work. But me, you do something that I don't like, I'm under the pillow, I ain't gonna talk to you because you upset me. You did something to me. This is the mindset that I had. And now when I actually think about it, I laugh because I don't do it anymore. And so it's all those things that destroys a relationship, that we enter a relationship, we say we love each other, but when somebody does something wrong, we don't want to talk to that person. We want to go to a silent mode for like a day or 2 days. And the other person is emotionally, they're being messed up. And emotionally, a woman is being messed up, a man is being messed up. And that relationship, it doesn't really, it means we are putting a stronghold in the relationship. So when my pastor was like talking, and I was like, this many makes sense. And I ain't gonna do that no more. And I asked Martin, his dad, we had a chat, and he started telling me the relationship, or how his relationship, it didn't work out. So that's when I realized that this is where we go wrong when it comes to relationship. Like Claudia is saying, childhood attachment are very, very, very important. For me, my childhood attachment and my culture, a man, like when I was growing up, my dad will explain to me, he will show me how much he loves me. If I go to bed at 7, my dad is not at home. If he comes home 12 o'clock midnight, the minute I hear his voice, I'm up. I talk to him, we have a chat, we share food, and we did so many things. So now I'm older, and my stepdad, we did the same. And my mom, I'll go out with my mom, and my friends used to be like, oh, if she's not with us, she's with her parents, she's so weird. And I'll be like, okay, if you don't like it, this is who I am. And I didn't really care. But when I came to the UK, I didn't know English culture, but I was dating English men. And when things go wrong, I'm like, you don't treat me like that. My parents never treated me. I wanted to date my parents. So I'm sure there are some people who have been in this situation where the way your daddy treats you like a princess, you want your man to treat you the same. But then I realized that when I decided to work on myself, that I need to treat my daddy as the individual, my stepdad as the individual, the person that I date, they are unique for who they are. So I need to date them as them and not expect my father's character in them. So that is very, very important to work on your childhood attachment. And what Sharon is saying as well, broken agreement. What is the agreement? For me, when I enter a relationship now, I have no expectations from the other person, but I put principles and boundaries in place. The love that I have for myself, it has to be too big to carry, to be able to carry the other person. It means when that person does something wrong, I need to learn how to respond in a graceful way to be able to sort things out. But mostly women, we have some talking problems. You do something to a woman, they will keep reminding you until you go to the grave. But that's not, we shouldn't be doing that. And also you have some men who are not well cultured, who disrespect women. And women, they let it happen. So why would you date somebody who disrespects you? And then when that relationship ends, you go under the pillow. Instead of celebrating you, find healing for yourself. So for me, I'll say, if there is a woman out there, make sure that you date men that treat you with respect. If there is a man out there, make sure you date a woman who is a mentor that treats you with this respect. Because it is very, very, very important to value you as a king, to value yourself as a queen. And also, the relationship is meant for fun. You know, like you fight with grace. Who says relationship doesn't have problems? But we meant to, you know, like when you have your parents, they love you, they give you everything. The relationship is meant to be like that. If somebody forgets birthdays, I was saying to the other day on Father's Day, my children, and they were like, the cards, do we need to buy a card or do we need to make it? I said to them, do you want my honest answer? There is no point in going to buy a card for £5 and then later on you're going to throw it in the bin. And I said to my children, why don't you sit down, make your dad a card, do some, get creative. That card, when he reads it, he's going to want to keep it. He's not going to throw it away. And they gave him the card. The other day I saw the card is there in front of his computer because it's been created Simple, he knows is being met by his children. So it's those little things that destroys the relationship that we take for granted. We believe that if a man loves me, they have to take me to very expensive holidays. But yes, they will, or a man will take you to a very expensive holidays, but if that little things that count, that are not there, being thoughtful, the relationship will break. And when it does break, you need to be prepared for healing, forgiveness, self-care. Communicate with yourself. If you're not okay, find support. Find good friends that can support you, but don't stay there too long. Because when you stay there, time is moving. I don't know if anyone has noticed after lockdown how much time is moving. Is very fast. Over to you, Claudia.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Today as well, I would find support to heal. Back then as well, and I didn't know so much about it, but at some stage, what I did as well many years ago, I understood that it was as well important to cut the cords because energetically we are still connected as well to the people in our lives, as well as the relationships, and this is important to cut the cords. And if we don't do this as well, this is as well one of the reasons why we still keep thinking of them and so on. And we try to move on, but they are still lingering around us. And to cut the cords, you can just as well, it can just be as easy. Google something in YouTube, cutting cord meditation. It just doesn't have to be big major thing. The most important
Can you explain to the audience how they cut the cord, like how you were able to do it? Because if somebody who doesn't know, they need to know.
I mean, back then it was like 10 years ago, I went to see a psychic. This was actually where the beginning of my healing thing and abusive relationship. So actually, I'm quite grateful to that past person. But today I would, so when I do it with my clients, it's just, they can do it as well by themselves. It's just a meditation, okay? Visualization, how they, how we have like energy strengths or cords between us and that person, and then just like imagine how they're being cut, or you can think of just whatever you believe in, some angels as well, and they cut and they do it with compassion and love and kindness. It doesn't have to be like all angry and so on. Just like visualize how they're being cut and removed, however you want to see it or do it in your own eyes. It works. Just the main thing is that you set the intention and then you visualize it as well and just feel it, see it as well, and then just say it's done. Basically, you are in charge here, okay? Yeah. So you don't have to go out and see a psychic like I did back then. Just like meditate about it, set the intention, afterwards say it's done. Yeah. So and then you're free of the energies as well. And so just one tip, because after that as well, soon after that, someone new stepped into my life. So I realized how important it was to cut the cords. This old energy I still had around me because I wasn't open. I wasn't open as well to see the next person in front of me because I was still in this clouds and veils and old energy, old story, you know. So yeah, it's just one little advice from me. Do you have a tip here as well?
Yeah, there's so many things here that I want to talk about. Oh my God. Right. So there's one thing that I'll talk about first. I think I want to do the cutting cords because working with a lot of women with infertility, and particularly if they've had a first birth and it's been a traumatic first birth and the baby's died or something like that, there's still a lingering energy and there's often a lot of grief that's associated with that. But there is ways of literally, it's not probably cutting the cord in the way that it's the same thing, but we do a ritual or a kind of way of where we actually move it away from your body, so it's outside you rather than in you, so that women are able to then get pregnant very easily. So we create a space then in ourselves to let the good things come in. So it's kind of like, so what we're really talking about is a ritual or a way of being that we can take what shouldn't be there sitting in our energetic field anymore, so that it can be outside. And depending on whether it's for me, I sometimes actually physically, I say, where are you being hooked in? And get them to visualize where they get hooked in and actually pull the hooks out or cut them or get someone else to love it. Or I actually ask them, I have people say, okay, you come here and you take your hook out, please. And get them to take the person that I wanted to get rid of or move from, they take the hook out. And so it's actually really interesting because you're directing it, which is what we were talking about. You were in control of this, but it's also nice to have them take the hook out and go. So that's another way which can be really kind of satisfying. But so I think we just mustn't underestimate the fact of what resonance stays in us and that need to do that from a place of also being very we've got to know absolutely this is what we want now, because we're choosing us. And then I wanted to just come back to something that Nomsa said earlier on, which is about expectations. And I don't know whether anyone has ever read the book Becoming a Queen by Alison Armstrong. She talks a lot about really it's about relationships, and as women, how we have expectations and how we see men, and I'm going to put in inverted commas, as hairy women. So we expect them to understand. We expect them to know what we're thinking. We're expecting them to mind read. And we've got all this stuff going on, and we don't ask for our needs, and we don't even negotiate within this contract, within anything. So, like as I gave the example, I used to put things at the bottom of the stairs, and my partner used to leave them because he was so upset that he thought that I was leaving them there for him to carry up. But I was putting them there just because they were there. But if he left stuff there, I always took it up. So it was interesting to recognize the different messages until I sort of said, oh, this is interesting. I do that, you do that. And what we kind of agreed with, well, if it's on the stairs and you put them on the stairs, it means that you are going to take them up, not me. And that meant that I was free of thinking, oh God, he's selfish, he doesn't take my stuff up. So it was really interesting having that discussion. But it was also recognizing that I have all these expectations, right, that I came with, that actually this person really doesn't have any idea. So I've learned to ask. I've learned to ask and say, hey, can you do that? But then it really makes me think about how, whenever we go into a new relationship, about how we're going to set that up for us to then have a successful relationship. And how do we do that? And the only way we can do that is to know our boundaries, is to know what's not negotiable, what is negotiable, and to know what we want. To know what we want, not what we don't want, but what we want. So I think that's I think it's nearly time now. So we'll be saying goodbye in a minute. Maybe just very quickly, I'll just say. Do you want to say something, Claudia, before we end? Or
yeah. Just like a quote. It's from Rumi, and I'm sure we here have heard about it. I just found it actually. I just remembered. So the task for us is not to seek for love, which we always think we have to do, no, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within ourselves that we have built against love. So
against love.
beautiful. It's always nice to hear this quote.
It is beautiful. Yeah. So look at where we are. We're holding the barriers to love, and it's interesting because Namsa talked about names, and my name means if you say it in the way it's meant to be said, it's sharing, and then I've got a surname, Love Grove. So sharing love as a whole thing of my life. And actually part of my revelation was realizing that this was what I was not doing. I had lots and lots of barriers to love. So it's interesting that you said that, Claudia, and you gave us. So thank you very much. It's really good.
Thank you.
Sorry, ladies, I had to answer the phone. My father-in-law is in hospital. So when I see the hospital number, I have to answer it. Back to what Claudia was saying, I know we have to go now. Cutting the cords is very, very important. Those who have dated partners in the past, if you still keep pictures and keep their numbers and collecting friends, it means you have not moved on. You need to ban every picture of your ex. If it's people that you have children with, you can't ban it, because if you ban it, it means you can't cross path with them. So you just have to cut the cords. When you ban the pictures of the past, it means that you are saying goodbye completely to your past exes. But if you have somebody who's got a child, you can cut the cords. Cutting the cords as a Christian, you do what Shireen was saying. And also because they are energy, when you have sex with somebody, the energies are linked together. So you need to get that energy out, so that when you start dating, you're actually dating one person and not multiple people inside your body. So you cut the cords, or you ban every picture, everything, just ban everything and just move on. Because if you're still keeping pictures, it means they're still part of you. And then now you have to speak to the earth. There's a specific scriptures that you can find in the Bible for cutting the cords. You hold it to the sand on your hands, you speak to the sand, you speak to your environment, that any exes that you have dated, you want the earth to release them, because God created the earth and God is God. Earth is God. And then you speak to the sand, whatever. Please don't speak anything negative to kill somebody, because that works. Do not speak anything negative or say, earth, go and kill this person, because it will happen. Don't do it. So, and then you speak whatever you want to speak, the healing, and then you put the sand down. And then you go, if you're in the house, you point your fingers down using your right hand, and then you speak to the earth. You speak to God and you speak to the earth. If you are a Christian, you command how you want the earth to look after you, how you want the earth to protect you from your past relationship, not to bring the pain from your past to your life, because God also is the earth. God created the earth. So that's what you do. It works. And find the scriptures mostly is in the book of Psalms. That works. And it works really, really well. But please, if you are split up with somebody, they dumped you and you are angry, do not kill somebody and ask the other to do negative things. Don't do it.
No.
And also, Shireen, have you guys said goodbye to the audience and gave them the words of encouragement?
No, we haven't done that. We just were kind of finishing off, because we're on a very interesting topic, which is why we
can do the second. We can do part two when we both free. We can do part two. There's plenty to talk about.
I think that's a lot. I think it's a great topic. Anyway.
Yeah.
Just really to say, maybe just let them know that I really am the kind of woman that is really in for new babies, new earth, really. So, and I do that by helping professional pregnant women who are struggling with their pregnancy journey, to find the balance between their work and home life. And I really just get them to stop, take a breath, prioritize, and trust themselves to make the best decisions that they can. And so what I really think today is start your process by just thinking, what can I let go of? What can I send away with love? So bless and send away. And actually, that's one of the nicest ways to do it, is just hold that pain and just bless it
Mm.
and blow it away. Give it over to God, give it over to whoever it is. And often that is one of the enough things to do in a process of ritual. It's kind of like giving that away to something else, and you can be free because you're doing it from a place of blessing and gratitude.
Yeah. Thank you, Shireen. Thank you, Shireen. And I am intuitive mindset a coach. I do theta healing as well, and I work as well to find the soulmate relationship. So I do this here. And in regards to my encouragement is, okay, this past relationship might have come to an end, but again, just don't be disheartened, because I always believed there are good men out there, okay? There are good men out there, and they are free as well. So, and this is actually as well what I got back reflected, and so just yeah, just stay positive as well, and try to look at the bright side as well of it. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. And we are here at Nkosi Talk Shows, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. UK time. And please join us if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook. Please subscribe to our channel and follow us on Facebook. We have a Nkosi Talk Show group. You can join the group and be part of the family. And God bless everyone and live with grace.